We're talking today with Claudia Lopez, founder of Mama's Tamales. Claudia came to the States as a little girl running away from a terrible war in El Salvador. Because she didn't know how to speak English at the time, she was bullied at school. And then something magical happened.
The candies at that moment, we started with candies. And, my mom wanting always to do the panaderia and me loving business. And having learned a lot in those 9 years in corporate America, I thought, okay, I could do this.
Claudia left General Motors and the corporate world to follow her dream of starting her own business. Vamos a ver cómo lo hizo.
Éxito.
Success.
Hábitos.
Habits.
¿Cómo lo hizo?
How do they make it?
Descubra las costumbres y secretos de los triunfadores.
Discover the habits and the secrets of those who have succeeded.
Hello. Here we are in ComoLoHizo. And I have a guest today that I think that you're really going to enjoy listen to her story. Her name is Claudia Lopez. Doesn't say too much, Claudia Lopez, but Claudia Lopez is the founder of Mama's Tamales, which is one of the places that is trending in Los Angeles. And she is one of those DTLA, how do you call it, people that is doing business in that area and catering to all the, the offices. And
yes,
so there's
a
lot of, right. So Claudia is here with me, and if you like tamales, you're gonna enjoy this conversation. So Claudia, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Great. So tell me a little bit about how did you start it, not in terms of the business itself, but how did you come to this country? Because where are you from?
I was born in El Salvador. So I came here in 1991 with my whole family. And it's an interesting story how I even came around the restaurant. But yeah, I was born in El Salvador, came here, not thinking that I was going to stay. We were just visiting family. My grandfather lives here. So the war was pretty bad. So we would come visit my grandfather. He's a citizen here. So come stay and hang out and then come back. And then until it got really bad that my parents just said, I think we should consider staying there for a while. My dad stayed because his job was over there. And starting to go to school here, and everything was kind of all happening really fast. I couldn't believe it. Not speaking English was very, very difficult for me. I mean, those years were very traumatic.
At what age did you come?
So I came, I think, between 8 and 9. 8 and 9, I kept going back and forth.
So and from there, you had to learn the language.
Yes, that was my biggest, something that has taught me a lot.
Oh, wow. Any bullying at school?
That's exactly what I was referring to. Kids can be really mean when you're little and not speaking their language and an environment that you're not used to. My whole life was in El Salvador. I loved it. My school, my friends, my family, and they took me away completely in a completely new environment. So that was hard for me. The first 2-3 years were very, very difficult. I had my mom here. I missed my dad, and just not speaking the language. People can be really mean.
So what did your mother do at the time?
No, she was just trying to find work. She had never worked before. In El Salvador, my dad had a really good job. My dad had a really, really great job. So we were okay over there. And she was just with us. She was a stay-at-home mom. I remember her teaching my ABCs in El Salvador, my Padre Nuestro, everything in Spanish.
Right.
And then coming here, my dad was still kind of supporting us. And my grandfather helped a lot. But she ended up starting to help my aunt, like clean houses and things that she had never done before to kind of help support us coming here. So that was very different.
Very different and tough, I imagine.
And tough. It was, oh my God, it was so tough.
So how do you get into the restaurant industry?
So it's funny because I've always loved business since I was little. In El Salvador, I remember making in el colegio little paper clip bracelets, popcorn bags. I wanted to sell something. It was always in me. Like, I just loved business. I would ask my aunt that lived here in the U.S. to send me chonquitas, moñitos, so I could sell them to my girlfriends over there because it was an all-girls school. So I always loved that. I went to USC for the Marshall School of Business. So I graduated from there in 2003.
How did you get in there?
worked really hard. I think even the bullying and even the mean kids and even all of that made me work harder. I mean, I always loved school, even in El Salvador. I loved school. My parents put that in me. You have to get an education. My dad went to La UCA, which is in El Salvador, a really great university. So I always knew that I was going to college, and USC just had an amazing business school, So I worked really hard in high school. I wanted to show all the other kids. And I remember one of my friends saying that, like, remember all those kids that used to bully you? Show them now where you're at. But anyways, so I went to USC, class of 03 for the Marshall School of Business. They taught me a lot. Did some internships while I did my schooling there. So interned for General Motors every summer.
Wow.
So then I got hired by General Motors. So my background's a little bit different.
Right.
And then I did pharmaceuticals because my mom got sick and I had to come back to stay in Southern California. And with GM, they moved you around a lot. So when I did pharmaceuticals, I did that for 4.5 years. Again, all very corporate. Always still loving business. Didn't like pharmaceuticals that much. It was a very different business than I wanted to do, that I had imagined. And I wasn't happy.
Mm-hmm.
I was waking up and my mom knows and remembers these conversations. I'm like, Mom, I hate what I'm doing. I don't like it. And then one day I remember in their kitchen, I went to talk to them. I said, I think I've saved enough money. Right now I'm single, not married. I think if it's now or never, think we should start a business. Mami, usted siempre ha querido una panadería. And, I said, you've always wanted a bakery because your mom had one in La Herradura, which is where she was born in El Salvador. I said, I think I'm good at business. And I said, I see a void in our community. And I think, people always come, like we mentioned earlier, pollo campero, queso, candies. People come with these candies all the time from El Salvador. I think we should start a candy panaderia, something like that we can start small and then maybe hopefully grow. There's a void, and I think we can provide our community with something delicious.
So you left the corporate world, that coming out of UCLA?
USC.
I'm sorry, USC. I mean, that's a big diploma. Huge. And now you could go to probably larger corporations. And however, having all that, you decided that was not your vision, and you decided to start your own business.
And it was just, I wasn't happy with what I was doing at that moment, exactly where I was at. And it's just always, I was in the back of my head, I always wanted to do something business-like for myself ever since I was little.
Where that sense of independence, of being your own boss comes from?
Being the eldest, I think I have I was going to say a little brother, a younger brother and a younger sister. Moving here without my dad, I think me and my mom were kind of how to be in charge of our little family. And then, you become the family representative. It's always been like that. It's I don't know, it's in Hispanic families, I've noticed that the eldest or somebody always takes the lead.
Right.
And even George Lopez jokes about it, like the team leader. But it's so true. Mm-hmm. Somebody always becomes that leader in the family that needs to kind of like either speaks English or translate or, and so that I think is where it all started. But I've always loved business. I just always loved the interaction.
So when you were, because you were a migrant here, so you were coming from another country, El Salvador. So did you see yourself reflected in some other migrants that you see, you thought at that early age or young age, you said, I don't want to be like that person, or I want to emulate that particular person?
It's not that I didn't want to be somebody. I knew that I wanted to first learn the language. That was the biggest thing. And just succeed and like not show off the other kids, but just say, look, I came, I learned, and I'm going to come ahead. Like, I'm going to make something out of this. Because I'm being very honest, it was a very, very hard 3 years. Like, my dad was fighting the school to make sure they would get me out of ESL. It was just so many things going on because, again, the bullying, the not speaking the language. So it was more of like, okay, let me work extra hard to, to really get out there and show everybody and myself too, because I have a lot of personal goals and, things that I want to achieve. But ever since I was little, I think it was just like that.
Did you see other people failing in front of you?
Not failing, but they just wouldn't try. And I was like, why wouldn't you not want to learn, more timetables or more math? Why wouldn't you want to take advantage of school and leaving, all these classes and take the AP class? I don't know. It was always like, why not go that extra mile when you have the opportunity and the chances to be here and take advantage of everything that this country gives you? and I think that's why I was striving for, like, I wanted to get into Berkeley, and I did, and it was amazing. But so what I would see in others, it would just be like, why are you not taking advantage of all these opportunities that you can? And I was just trying to do as much as I could.
So what's the difference, do you think? Mm-hmm. Because you were in the corporate world, let's say, and you shift into your small dream, your small business that you want to do it by yourself. And at the same token, you were seeing other people that they didn't go the extra mile.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So could you tell me what was that engine, that something that you had inside that made you think like that? What is it?
I just always loved business, but I also I don't know if it's my dad has done a really great job at installing the value of service. And I think that combined with business, I wanted to bring something to our community here. I was taken away from El Salvador. I felt like I was taken away. And bringing them a little bit of that candy.
Because of the war.
Because of the war, of course, yes. And I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity. I thought, the candies at that moment, we started with candies, and my mom wanting always to do the panaderia, and me loving business and having learned a lot in those 9 years in corporate America. I thought, okay, I could do this. I felt like I had all the tools to start. I had the background. I thought back there, I can do this. Easy. Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot from that too. It takes a lot more than just thinking you have all the tools. But it's just always something that I loved. Business has been in my blood forever. My grandma had a dairy business in El Salvador. And I remember going every Saturday, wanting my dad to drop me off at El Mercado so I can go help her sell cheese, I loved it. And my grandma, I just saw her this last week, when I was visiting El Salvador. And she goes, I remember everybody wanted a Sofita to come and sell them the cheese. It was just so fun. So when I saw all these opportunities come and the timing being aligned, I thought this is the right time to do this because I think I have all the tools to go ahead and take the first step into owning my own business.
That's awesome. So, and how did you turn into tamales?
Okay, so that's an interesting story. So when looking for a kitchen, I wanted to do everything with permits. I wanted to do everything legal because I still had the big goal of somehow turning into this idea of I came from corporate America, so I want to turn this into a corporation, a big company. So I wanted to do everything right from the beginning.
And you were very young.
Yeah, I had already worked 8 years in corporate America. I was, in my 20s. Yeah, relatively young.
Of course.
And then I was looking for incubator kitchens or kitchens that had the permit that would legally let me go make the candy, go to the health department, and get all my business licenses, everything that I need to do to start selling it at small, like a farmer's market. Ideally, I wanted a location first, but I knew that from that moment, I knew that I had to start smaller so that I can gradually do step by step. And it's something that some entrepreneurs still come into the restaurant and ask us how we all got started. I'm very realistic with them. It's just like I want to start smaller. It's always good to have the amazing, great goal, but also being realistic. So when I was Googling kitchens, Mama's Tamales came up. I went and talked to the owner back then.
So you were doing just what? Searching for something?
I was searching.
For a name?
No, for a kitchen to rent. So here to make food, when you don't have your own restaurant, you have to go and look for incubator kitchens that rent you the space with all the insurance, permits, everything legal.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing. Because my idea was to make these cocos rallados, tamarindos, dulce de nance. And I came around Mama's Tamales and I started using their kitchen. And with that permit, I could go and say, okay, to the health department.
So Mama's Tamales had an incubator kitchen. So exactly. they rented to
people that wanted to make cupcakes, jams, coffees.
Okay, so
So then after the owner interviewed me, she goes, okay, I think you'd be a great candidate to use our kitchen. I started using their kitchen.
Were they big or?
They were. It was back then. I think it was double the size of the cafe. Then when we took over, actually, was it double? I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember. But they were just more affordable. They were there for the community. So we got along really well. We both had kind of the same idea. Other kitchens were charging me like $25 to $40 an hour. And I like to search for deals. And I'm like, man, that's a lot. I'm thinking, because I'm considering all costs. I think one thing the entrepreneurs, when they get into their idea or their trying to get to the business. They don't see